Hey, Kathy, this is Chris from Homestead 719. I told you I was going to do that video over the weekend. Just lost track of time, didn't get to it. I knew it wasn't super hot needed, so hope you had a good weekend and took us some time here this afternoon on Tuesday and creating that little video. But before I get to my part of it, I want to say you're awesome. Most sellers that I deal with are not nearly as informed as you are about your community, and that is awesome. It actually helps me help you too. So um, thank you for shooting over those details. And I'm just going to show you some of the stuff that I can see might be additional help to you, may not. Um, and then if you decide to work with me at a later point, I have some other tools that we can bring into play that might help us a little bit more. Um, some of the things that appraisers look at when they're valuing a home or a condo here in this case, they'll typically go out about a mile up to 2 miles to look at value and try to nail in exactly what you have. I think we can probably get there a little bit closer, especially if some of those units near you that are like yours sell. With regards to the garage, I got some sad news there. Typically speaking, an appraiser will give you about 5 grand for a single car garage. Um, Let me make sure I have that right in my head. No, 2,500 for a single and 5 grand for a dual on resale. And I have some stuff I can show you, not in this video, but I can show that to you from the appraiser side. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at comparables and trying to adjust up and down for price. That's what the appraiser will use. The builders get to dictate whatever they want. That's the beauty of builders. So with that, I'm going to share my screen here and just show you a couple things. This video is not going to be very long. You're so dialed in now that it would be kind of pointless to get too deep with you. But here's the MLS data that's out there for the criteria that I used here. I'll back out one screen and show you what I asked the MLS for. You can see here I'm using actives, under contract, pending is also considered under contract. The difference is this one's allowing showings and this one's not. Sold, sometimes we'll pull in withdrawal expired and canceled just to see what that does to the data set. You see I am going out 2 miles from your address, or what I think is your address. And then of course, just looking at condos because that's what we're dealing with here. So if I ask for the map view of this, and I'll bring that up here in just a second, you can kind of see where the properties are located. That'll be on the next screen. So there are a few way out here that are, in general, I haven't really narrowed down the criteria to square footage. So don't be too critical about it. We're not at the point where we're trying to determine the list price or anything like that. So this is just general broad information to see if there's anything in here maybe that you're not aware of or you might find interesting for your situation. So if I then go to results, we can see here, these are probably the two in Montclair that, in fact, I know this community very well. I did my first fix and flip in there. Very different and apparently hasn't appreciated very much since then. But, here's your community here and the buildings and building numbers better than I do. But if any of these close, that will help us immensely. I agree. This last one down here, I don't know what they're thinking, but that ain't ever going to sell at that price. That is crazy numbers based on what we're seeing for this one right here that sold. So I feel bad for that seller. I might have to reach out to them and see if I can help them out if they're in a pinch. Use some of my investor skills and get them out of that place. If they must have 415, they're going to need somebody like me that's really creative to figure out how to make that work. But yeah, we can see, the two bedrooms. This one's got a garage, this one doesn't. And I think you picked up on that too. Bedroom, bathroom counts really don't affect value at all. Build year does. You can see here 2021. This other one that sold 07, a little bit different. I think you said a completely different, maybe in a different community, but the sub area is showing the same. So anyway, that's information for us to utilize. Again, if we can get one of these to close out, that will give us way better information to utilize for your list price. But that's the data the appraiser is going to have. to justify, whatever the sales price is, unless somebody comes in with a boatload of cash. So that's good for us. It won't be good if nothing sells, because then it's more of a crapshoot that, we have to almost, throw a dart with your eyes closed trying to figure out where the price is. But if we get there, I have some tools, like I was saying, that I can show you later, that use statistics to try to help us narrow that down and bring some clarity to it. The next thing I'm going to show you here is just a tool from a company called Altos. They have a YouTube channel. They're a national data aggregate. So they bring in a lot of data nationally and put it all together in a fancy little screen for us to look at. I get it from Heritage Title here in Colorado Springs, but I punched in your zip code 80920. I've asked for condos, and it kind of gives us an idea, again, broad view here of what's going on in 80920 with regards to condos. They do this market action index. They try to calculate and quantify what is the condition of the market, buyer seller's market right now. And right now they're indicating a 55 out of 100, with the buyer's market being over here where it gets closer to 30. I'll say from my experience, this is going to be a little bit broad view, even for what I was saying a second ago, because we're looking at an inventory of 11, not a whole lot of data, right, for a zip code for condos, but it still gives us an idea. The nicer and prettier your house is, the more it's going to act more like a seller's market, where you get to dictate a lot more of the terms and ask the buyer to do a lot more things. The less pretty or less, and the worse condition it is, we give up some of those, what do you call it? Some of that criteria where you have to give up some to the buyer. And if all things are normal, it's an average condition, we're right here in the middle where it looks like both parties get to negotiate, right? You might give up some, the buyer might give up some, that kind of thing, to make for a nice, probably a nice selling experience, to be honest, instead of putting the coals to the buyer and making them give up everything, including their firstborn, in order to get a house, like it was a couple of years ago. It's kind of crazy. But you can see here the median list price of all the condos here, 415, and this goes back to February 10th. Down below, I can open this up, and if you want to see this full report, I can send it to you in a PDF. That's not a problem. But it kind of gives you an idea of what the market has been doing, specifically at 80920 for condos since the beginning of the year. And you can see the values there slowly pulling up. Now, I would say I wouldn't expect that to continue too much. The market is a little weird. We might have it June, July, and then it's gonna change again. So June, July is our peak market here in Colorado Springs with all the military moves that are going on. And in fact, you can see here in the condos, we're really not seeing a big change. If I go back here to houses, same thing for the houses in 80920, we're not seeing a big change. Some of the other zip codes, we're seeing a much bigger shift in price and ramp up for the summer. But 80920 seems to be a little bit softer start. Well, you can see there at the market action index, though. I don't know if you saw that, so that was 77 for houses versus condos. So a little bit different situation for the houses. You can see price per square foot coming up radically. I don't like using that too much. It can give you a radically skewed price, high or low, if you just take 326 and put it to your square footage and say that's how much your condo is worth. It could be right on the money, it could be high, it could be low by a lot. So it's a fun number to look at, but I don't use it for setting price very often because it tends to be way wrong. Average days on market, so the time it takes from the time it goes active on the market till it's under contract, 39 days. Median for that same conditions, 28 days. 30% of the market is taking a price decrease before it sells. So that definitely shows us we want to be a little conservative on the price when you list it. You don't want to be overly aggressive, depending on how fast you want to sell it. If we're trying to get it done by end of July, where the peak market is, yeah, you definitely don't want to be ridiculous like that 415 number we were seeing before. It's going to sit there, especially when it's got all the other competition underneath it. So we definitely want to take that into account when we're setting the price. Relist 18% never sell and have to be relisted before they sell. So that's another indicator to not be overly aggressive with price and terms and conditions for the sale. And inventory, you can see here, was at 11 when they did their snapshot, and that's the rent number. I don't know where they get that from. Down here, you can see like a broader kind of average days on market. I'll kind of telling you here. So this goes all the way back to June of 18, and you can kind of see where the history kind of runs, and there's some ripples through here as we go through COVID. And when this is COVID here in the middle, you know, in the summer, we tend to have these little peaks where it kind of peaks up here, and you can see it that same thing last year. And then it falls back off towards fall. So likely the best time for the condo sales in the next 2 months. Not that it's going to fall off a ton due to, you know, if you wait till December, you're just going to have less buyers trying to buy, and that affects the sales price unless interest rates continue to climb or something like that. That definitely has an effect on buyer pool and people looking at that. We can also take this and cut it into a bunch of different pieces. Basically what that just did is it took the entire inventory and cut it into 25% blocks. So the top 25 most expensive are blue, the top or the bottom 25% least expensive are in red, and the average days on market for those, you can kind of see some variation here where the cheaper ones actually take longer to sell than the more expensive ones. The dark blue is a little bit lower here. So it's interesting when you can try to get to the point where you're going to list a property. Sometimes I'll come in here and take a look and just see, you know, is it behaving like this where everything's kind of uniform, or are we seeing some deviation or separation in the market segments? And maybe we want to be aware of that depending on the goals of the seller. So this thing will show us all sorts of weird stuff that we may or may not want to look at inventory wise. That might be interesting. Real quick here, just to look at that. I'm going to turn the market segments off on this one. So you can kind of see, you know, what normally in 80920, we have, you know, around probably 4 units for sale would be the average there at all times. And right now we are at 10. So we got more than normal. So that changes the strategy again, that we've got a higher inventory. We're going to expect longer days on market. We want to be less aggressive with the price point than we would be if there was less on the market. So here's a range of the data that's out there. You know, some of these are pretty big. So, you know, just again, data for us to look at to try to understand what's going on in the market in 80920 and see if there's anything that maybe we can take advantage of to help you out. When and if you're ever ready to put that place in the market. And if you are, like I said, I'd be happy to sit down and talk to you more about this, either on a Zoom call or in person. And if you are moving out of state, I can try to help you find an agent wherever you're going, if you're going to need one there too, and screen them for you. So that way you get a good agent on the back end there. Yeah, if you have any questions after watching this, let me know, and I'll be happy to answer those. My number is 719-212-4911. You got my email address too. So thanks for watching. Hopefully you found this useful, and have a good week. Bye.